about me, my name is Lakisha McNair. As I said before, I'm the Chief Knowledge Officer of McNair Consulting. I gave myself that title. I don't know how I came up with it, but I thought it was pretty cool. I'm a native of South Carolina originally. I'm originally from the big city of Darlington, South Carolina. And I have over 17 years of nonprofit and fundraising experience. So all the work that I've done in my life post undergraduate is in nonprofit fundraising. Graduated from University of South Carolina-Upstate. Have a master's in public administration from Strayer University, and I'm a certified nonprofit professional through the Nonprofit Leadership Alliance in Washington D.C. And then I also have a plan given certificate from the University of California, Davis, which means I can help donors with their end of life plans when they are thinking about how they want to structure their will. And this is targeted towards people that are 55 and older. Okay. So my personal mission is to help organizations accomplish their fundraising goals by diversifying funding streams. Diversifying funding streams um, is not just putting all your eggs in one basket. So instead of just looking at grants or individual donors, making sure that your portfolio of donors is diverse. So I just want to talk about some of my first fundraising, some examples of the first fundraising that I've seen when growing up back in Darlington, South Carolina. My dad, he's old school, so he sold. I don't know if everyone's familiar with Watkins products. So Watkins products consist of liniment, lemon flavoring, vanilla flavoring. So I would always remember him sitting at the table downstairs putting those orders together. He was a UPS driver full time, but on the side, he always was doing like fundraising, doing other things to make money. Also, I can remember some Avon and Mary Kay ladies coming around the house to sell my mom products. And then also, I was a Girl Scout back in South Carolina. So selling cookies was a form of giving back to our community because of the things that we did when selling cookies. We were able to give back. We were able to go on trips. We earned patches. And so, believe it or not, my mom still has my Girl Scout cookie trophies from when I sold the most cookies. So it started out back when I was 5 years old, wanting to be a fundraiser. So today, the things that we talk about will be relevant to any nonprofit organization, whether you're in the arts space, whether you're in healthcare, housing, homelessness, anything that we talk about today can be relevant to the nonprofit that you're working with. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, I want us to get to know each other. So if you can drop in the chat, well, we may be able just to go around the room. I don't, oh, okay, a couple more people got on. So if we can drop in the chat your name, your role, your organization, if applicable, your location. And then by the end of this session, we hope your name will be the best fundraiser that your organization has ever had. So feel free to drop that in the chat if you're able.
Everyone should have access to the chat.
Okay. Okay, Brittany from Walterboro. Okay, so I'm going to move along and then please feel free to go and drop your information in the chat as I continue our conversation. So the question of the day that I would like to ask you, feel free to come off mute and answer this question. So what prohibits your organization from raising more funds? Does anybody want to answer that? You can move to the
And
next.
knowing about funds that are available to
Okay.
apply to. Yeah. And
Yeah.
probably the manpower to spend a lot of time, or it can take us a lot of time to fill out a grant application. And we're so tiny that it's hard to do sometimes.
That's what I hear from a lot of organizations. A lot of the ones that I do work with, there's what we call small shop nonprofits. So the executive director may also be the fundraiser, and they may also be the person that goes around and does the program. So that's a problem, that an issue that we see in a lot of nonprofit organizations. Some other things I've had seen was lack of staff, the infrastructure, the knowledge to know how to raise funds, lack of support from maybe from your board or anyone else that's associated with the organization, and lack of current relationships to help raise those funds. I think, Brittany, did you have another question?
No, just agreeing with what you offered.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so moving right along. So we're going to address all of these today, and I'm going to give you some helpful ways that you can, even if you're a small shop nonprofit, you can use these things along the way. So today our focus areas are fundraising can be scary, diversifying our funding streams, the donor life cycle, crisis fundraising. It takes an entire organization to be successful in fundraising, creating a culture of philanthropy, and acknowledging your donors and having a stewardship plan. Okay. So fundraising is scary. So as a fundraiser, I've been a fundraiser for 17 years. And when I walk in an organization, people think I have money bags on my shoulders, which I don't. So it takes an entire organization to have a successful fundraising program. And I think the most important part of fundraising is making sure that you have innovative ideas, making sure that you're up to date with the newest fundraising trends. So back in 2006, 2007, when I first started out in fundraising, we were told that you need to mail your newsletters to your donors. And so after time progressed and technology became a little bit better, everyone was doing electronic newsletters. Now that we've gone through a whole pandemic and people are home more, people are working from home, people actually like to see mail a little bit more. So sending out paper newsletters is a up-to-date trend that I've noticed in the past year or two. And also something that a lot of nonprofits do not want to see is that you have to spend money to make money. So that means making sure that your staff has the tools that they need to be successful, whether that be a donor database, making sure that your brochures are up to date with the latest information. Okay. All right, so diversifying funding streams. So for the remainder of our conversation, the name of my arts organization is called the Imaginary Center for Arts. So diversifying funding streams means, like I mentioned before, do not put all your eggs in one basket. That's something that we say in South Carolina. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So when people start a nonprofit, the first thing they think about is grants. Grants are not all that entails with fundraising. Fundraising is not a one-size-fits-all approach. And the first thing I would do, even if you don't have a donor database and you're just keeping a track of your donors or anybody who has supported your organization in the past, you may even have an Excel spreadsheet where you're tracking this information. Review your current donors, because the money or the funds that you're seeking may be right in front of your face, but you just have not cultivated that donor yet. So if the best way to get information, if you can find that person's geographic location, if you have that information, the age, that makes sense, because when you get your donor to the point of legacy giving and plan giving, you want to know their ages so that you can target them for legacy giving, which means helping them with their end of life plans. All right, so dividing your fundraising initiatives into those buckets. So on the side, you see those little raindrops coming down. That's marketing. So marketing plays a role in everything that you do, whether it be your social media presence. If you're hosting an event, make sure that you send out press release to your local media. And also I think it's so important to have decent looking marketing materials such as brochures or posters when you're going out in the community, and also a nice tablecloth because you want people to be able to recognize your brand. All right, so we're going to start with grants. So one helpful thing
Go back.
you can go back. Yes, please. Thank you. So with grants, there are a couple types of grants. So you have foundation grants, and then you also have federal grants, and then also some corporations have grants. So one helpful thing that I would like to give a tip to give everyone is to, if you can afford it with your nonprofit, $200 a month gives you access to the foundation directory. So the foundation directory, I think it's called Foundation Directory Online. A lot of foundations that are out there are not listed. Some of them are older. They don't have websites. So this directory gives you access to all of the organizations. There are 990 forms. And so there are like thousands and thousands of grants that are out there on that foundation directory. And you can separate those by keyword. So that is helpful. And then also federal grants, go to grants.gov. These are ways to look up some of those federal grants. And honestly, when I'm building a fundraising program for nonprofits, grants would probably be one of the things I put on the latter side of things. It wouldn't be my primary focus. My primary focus would start with individual donors. So moving around for corporate support, that next bucket. So I'm going to give you an example of ways that you can gain corporate support. So in your particular area, I would do a search of local corporations, and every corporation has a focus area. For instance, I'm just going to say Bank of America, not that this is their true focus area. So Bank of America may focus on homelessness, and Wells Fargo may focus on arts. So you want to go and create a list of corporations in your area that have focus areas similar to the mission of your organization. The next thing you do from there, a great thing that you could utilize is LinkedIn. LinkedIn has helped me get so many fundraising leads. So you want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is updated with your name, the name of your organization, and also have a profile for your organization. From there, you go into the search box of LinkedIn and you put in that company name, and you either want to search for the person that is in marketing for the organization, because it's a benefit to these corporations to show that they've given to nonprofit organizations in the community, or you want to find out who's responsible in their social responsibility department. From there, you create an email to that person. Make sure you can send them a friend request, and then that email can say, hey, my name is Lakisha. I'm from the Imaginary Arts Center. I noticed that your focus area is arts. I would love to meet with you to discuss how our center is helping youth in the community that are in underserved and low income areas, and how we could partner together. Please let me know if you have time in the next couple of weeks to meet. I appreciate your consideration. And so from there, you just set up a meeting with them. The first meeting that you meet with them, you may not want to make the ask for a donation. You may want to ponder on it. And then from there, you make a proposal that you want to send them. So for instance, if you think that this Wells Fargo has the ability to give $25,000 to the Imaginary Arts Center, you create a proposal based on $25,000. So if you're having an arts gala that's coming up and your sponsorship level is 10,000, so of that 25,000, 10 would be for that gala sponsorship, and then the other 15 could be to directly helping students with their art classes. Does anyone have any questions about corporate support? Okay, so we'll move along to individual donors. So individual.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Brittany. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay. When you dictated that letter, that email just now, that was perfection, because I would have no idea how to start or reach out in that way. Are we able, I would love to, this is recorded, right?
Yes.
It is. And I'll also give you my contact information at the end, Brittany. So please feel free to reach out anytime.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So individual donors are donors that are probably sitting right in your face. So if there are donors that have, so with the Imaginary Arts Center, so if there are donors that have given art supplies or given funding to different events that you may have had. It's important to cultivate those donors. Also, any donor that has attended past events. And so they may have given $25, but they may have the ability to give you a couple thousand. But the only way that you'll know that is if you make the ask. So one thing that I like to do with individual donors once I'm researching my list is to set up meetings with donors, whether it be face-to-face or Zoom. And I won't ask them for a donation right away. The way that I go about it is, and I'll call them on the phone and say, hey, let's see. Mr. John, thank you so much. I noticed that you've given to Imaginary Art Center in the past. I want to thank you so much for your support. I want to give you an update of some of the things that we have been working on the past couple of months. We have been able to serve 500 children through arts classes, and these children are in underserved and in underserved communities, and we would love to get you back connected with the Imaginary Art Center. Please let me know if you're available for coffee next week, and I would like to meet you face to face so that we can discuss how we can continue to partner together in the future. And so that's how you begin cultivating your individual donors. Another thing that I do on Fridays is called the Rule of Five. The Rule of Five is I call 5 individual donors that I've interacted with before and have given to my organization, or 5 corporate supporters that I've worked with in the past. I call them on the phone. I don't ask for any money. It's just a wellness call just to see how you're doing. Is there anything that you would like to see us do in the community? So that's fundraising is all about relationships and building those relationships. And one thing I can say, being in this role for being in the fundraising sector for 17 years, a lot of the donors that I've worked with in the beginning of my career tend to follow me because I've built those relationships. And building those relationships, you have to build trust with those donors because they know if you stand behind a mission, that the mission is worth giving to. And so events, I'm on the fence with events. I'm not really big on events because sometimes events have high as long as you have low overhead costs and a sponsorship package. So for instance, with an event that I'm planning now, I've created a sponsorship package. So every event that I do, I create a sponsorship package, and the top level would be between $25,000 and $50,000. And so with the events, I want to make sure that all of my costs can be covered within that the highest sponsorship level. So the sponsorships start at between $25,000 to $50,000, and they go on down to $1,000. So events are another way to diversify your funding streams. A lot of events that I have planned in the past, because we have those sponsorships, I don't do any kind of ticket prices or admission prices. On the day of the event, I get a person that's a client or someone who's been served by the organization to give a compelling testimony. And from there, we make the ask of donations in the room. And also, when you're sending out invitations for events, make sure that you put a remittance envelope, like the envelopes we used to have in church to put our tithes in. Always include that. Always include that in an envelope when you're sending out to donors, because a lot of times, especially now during COVID, a lot of people, they won't come out to big events where a lot of people are present. But if you send that envelope, you'll be sure to collect a couple thousand before your event. The last thing is legacy giving. So legacy giving is the same as planned giving. And this is something that will come way down the line after you've been cultivating your individual donors. Legacy giving is targeting people that are ages 55 and above, and people that are thinking about retirement, thinking about building their wills. And so from there, you would help them with bequests and let's see. Yeah, so over 55, you would help them with their legacy giving. And this would be something that would be later down the line, because legacy giving and planned giving is very specialized. So it would be something that you could focus on once you get your fundraising program up and going. Anybody have any questions about this? This was a lot of information. Okay, next slide, please. All right. So the next thing we want to talk about is our donor life cycle. So this is how we cultivate donors. And the first thing I want to point out on the left are some helpful tools. These are wealth screening tools. So Google is not wealth screening, but it's a great a great resource to pull information about potential donors. So donor search is one that I use pretty often, and Wealth Engine. Donor search is the less expensive one. And so I would recommend that to smaller nonprofits. So the first thing you want to do is identify potential donors. So the way you do that is with your database that you already have, or if there's someone that told you that this person in your town that's a part of your community has what we call the propensity to give, which means the ability to give a significant donation, you want to start there. And from there, determine if the individual is or the organization is a viable prospect. And the way you do that is maybe doing a Google search or running that donor through donor search. So with donor search, it's very invasive, if I may say. So it gives everyone a score of the ability to give. So it'll show you the person, what they've given in the past, what type of organizations they've given to, how much they've given. So from there, you do that, and once you figure out if that person qualifies to give a donation at the amount that you're thinking of, then you begin to cultivate that person, setting up meetings with them, inviting them. Something that works really well with nonprofits is letting people see the face of the mission. So if you're having events, it's important to invite potential donors. So I'll give you an example. I worked for an organization a couple years ago. This was in a medical nonprofit. So we used to give medications to people that were low income and in need. And there's a credit union in the area that I've asked them maybe like 3 or 4 years if they would be willing to donate to the organization. They said no every time. And so from there, I invited them to one of our events that we had. We were giving out medications to people in low income areas. They came, and I thought they were just going to stay for like an hour, but they ended up staying the whole entire day volunteering. And from there, I followed up with them to see how they enjoyed their time volunteering, if they had any, ideas of things that we should do different. And from there, they committed to being a sponsor, and they're a sponsor at that organization to this day. So it's important to make sure that people are seeing your mission in action. And so once you ask for the gift and you're given the gift, you steward that donor. So stewarding a donor is making sure that you're building a relationship with them, almost as if they're your friend. So making sure that, if you're talking to someone and they say their dog is Fido, the next time you talk to them, how's Fido doing? Just thinking about those little things that you can remember about people, and also letting them know what the impact of their donation is by keeping up with them, making sure that they receive your monthly newsletter. That's important, to send a monthly newsletter. And then also just making sure that they're aware of the things that you're doing. It's important for donors to receive information in real time. They don't want to find out through the streets what's happening in your nonprofit. So it's important to let them know what's going on firsthand, because without donors, nonprofits would not exist. All right. So another part of the donor life cycle is moves management. This is a practice that has, since I've been in nonprofit fundraising, it's been around for a long time. So the way you want to bring your potential donor is in. So say for instance, at the Imaginary Art Center, we had a volunteer that donated their time to come and offer classes to children, art classes to students. And so from there, you notice that they have a connection to your mission. They really like volunteering with you. From there, you make sure that they add them to your mailing list, to make sure that they have all the information that's going on, and then they'll become a first-time donor. From there, you want to make them a recurring donor. So recurring donor is a donor that gives annually, or either a donor that gives monthly. So if you have the ability to give on your website, make sure that you have the recurring donor or monthly giving option as a part of your your online giving process. And so another resource I want to give to you is using MailChimp or Constant Contact. These are great ways to interact with your donors to make sure that they receive the most up-to-date information about your organization. And then from there, they move to major donors. So a major donor is what's defined by your organization. So some organizations that I work with are $1,000 is a major donor, or other organizations that I work with, $5,000 is a major donor. You determine what's a major donor in your organization just based on the amount of gifts and how much the gifts that you've received in the past. And then the last thing, the ultimate goal that we want to have in fundraising is legacy giving or plan giving. So making sure when that person is thinking about planning their will or their end of life plans, that the Imaginary Art Center is in their will. All right, so I want to show you donor search that I mentioned before, that wealth screening tool. This is an example of a donor profile, and it's a wealth screening tool. So it gives each donor a score. So DS11, that's a great score. Jerry has the propensity to give a lot. So this is just what one record looks like. So the other thing that you can do that's great with donor search, the list of donors that you already have, you can enter their information into this tool and it'll give your current donors a profile as well as a score. All right, next slide, please. And so with Jerry, you can see here, it's really small, but I can send this if anyone wants to see this. So Gary has given $13 million to different organizations. This is a real profile, by the way. So his most recent gift was in 2020. His earliest gift was in 1999. He has been donating to nonprofits for 22 years. So he's given $13 million to charitable donations and $769,000 to political organizations. So wealth screening is very important when you are trying to get new donors. So where it talks about the total dollars here, the category, you can see the different categories that Jerry has given to in order to, you can make that align with your organization. So with the Imaginary Arts nonprofit, so we would go under culture and humanities. He's given $911,000 to those types of organizations. So Jerry would be a person definitely to cultivate. All right, next slide. So the main topic of this session is about crisis fundraising and how to raise funds in times of uncertainty. Even though we're in a pandemic, but not in a pandemic, and we're moving closer to not being in a pandemic, it's still important to practice caution, and things have changed a lot. COVID-19 really shook the fundraising sector or nonprofit sector, and we had to think about ways to do things a little bit differently. So some of the things that I've done since COVID-19 and the pandemic is meeting with donors via Zoom. So sometimes people don't want to come out and meet with you. So making sure that you have Zoom or some other type of video conferencing tool to be able to meet with them. More telephone calls. So I call my donors a lot just to see how they're doing. I'm not asking for anything, just using that rule of 5 and doing those wellness calls. Edit your messaging. Make sure that you let your donors know that because of COVID-19, our funds have changed, and your support means a lot to us right now. So I would love for you to consider a donation today. Instead of hosting in-person events, virtual events have been really successful. And then also small donor cultivation events. So I want to tell you about a small donor cultivation event that I've done with several nonprofits. It's called Dining with Friends. So basically, these are small donor cultivation events that happen in the homes of your board members, as well as people that support your organization. And at the end of the night, they make an ask of their friends and family that come to the event to make a donation towards your organization. So the good thing about these events are that you do not have to pay for any of the supplies, the donor or the board member or the supporter, they pay for dinner for their guests, and you're just collecting the donation at the end of the night. And so what I give them is a packet. This packet has everything they need in there to have a successful fundraising event at their home, their church, or wherever they want to host it. It could be a restaurant. And so in that packet, it gives information about our mission of the Imaginary Arts Center, and then also how we serve the community, and then how they can make the ask of their donors, and also having a QR code in there where their donors can just scan the code and donate directly to your organization if they don't want to give cash or a check. Right. Next slide, please. So it takes an entire organization to be successful in fundraising. I know a lot of organizations are what we call a small shop, meaning that you may be the executive director, but you are also the fundraising staff, and you're also the program staff. We've seen that in a lot of nonprofits lately, just because of funds and not being able to hire people. But the primary goal of your board of directors is to help make sure that your organization has a successful fundraising plan. So that makes you, with your board, you want to make sure that your board is diverse. So with the Imaginary Arts Council, if I had to build a board, my board would consist of people that are in the arts, major corporations that, such as Wells Fargo or Bank of America, that may give to the arts sector. I would include someone that is in education, someone that is in banking. You want to make sure your board is very diverse, and it's important to have someone that's involved with the financial institution, so that when your organization, if you have to do an audit or anything that's financial related, you can have a second set of eyes to go and look over your documentation when you're submitting it. So all of these people that are in this fundraising list right here, all of these are the face of your organization. So the program staff are the first people that people in the community interact with. So your program staff are their boots on the ground, out in the community, serving, making sure that your programs are getting carried out. So these people, the program staff, they need to also have the fundraising mindset. It takes everyone, because they may meet someone at one of your programs or one of your events, and they have the propensity to give. So it's important for your program staff to make the connection and send it to your fundraising staff or the executive director or CEO in order to potentially make the ask of someone. And another thing that I think is very important when you're fundraising, there are certain attributes of a good fundraiser. So I think you have to be warm and friendly. You have to, that you're the face of the organization. You may be in the grocery store. You may be in Aldi. I like to go to Aldi all the time, but I know that I'm also the face of the organization. So I have to be pleasant when I'm working with people, because they may be my next donor. All right, so creating a culture of philanthropy. So it's important to create a culture of philanthropy in your organization. As I mentioned before, there are different things that your development department can do, what your program department can do, and what your leadership can do. All of these things are important, because my favorite slogan is no money, no mission. So if you don't raise money, your organization, your mission can't go forward in the community, and you're not able to let more people have access to your programming. So your development department, they need to be, let's start with leadership. Leadership needs to make sure that everyone in the organization is aware that fundraising is a job or a duty of everyone in the organization. Programs, when there are programs set, for instance, with the Imaginary Arts Center, if we're having an art showcase, I'm going to invite potential donors and current donors to let them see what we're doing, so that, and I'm also going to make the ask at those events so that they can, if they're a current donor, increase their gift, and if they're not a donor, have them consider being a donor. And then so what your development or fundraising department can do is shadow programs So in order to be able to go out in the community and intelligently talk about your programs, you need to see those programs firsthand. So it's important for development department as well as executive directors to be able to go out and view those programs so that when you're meeting with donors, you can tell them exactly what's going on and how they can give to your organization. All right. So the last part is stewardship. So now that the Imaginary Arts Center has gotten their donations, how do we steward our donors? So stewarding your donors is making sure that you're communicating well with your donors. So for instance, we have different categories: gift acknowledgement, donor recognition, impact reporting, and other communications. So for IRS purposes, anyone who gives a donation to your organization, you need to make sure that they have a form letter. So your form letter is just a basic letter that says, thank you so much for giving to the Imaginary Arts Council. Your donation is going to make a difference in the lives of the youth that we serve. And then you also put some bullet points. Because of your donation, we're able to go into this community and give more programs to youth. We're able to give youth that, we can also say that it's proven that youth that have after school programming have better grades and they have less behavior problems. And so you can include things like that in your letter, and also bullet points about how their donation is going to help your organization. And at the end, CEO or executive director or even a board member can sign that letter. And at the bottom of the letter, you want to make sure that you put in the IRS for tax purposes. Let them know that no goods or services were received in order for them to give that donation. So you want to make sure you put that text at the bottom of every letter that you send out. And so these are different ways that you can steward your donors. For instance, one that I really like is impact reporting. It's important for nonprofits, whether you're a small nonprofit or a large nonprofit, to do an annual report. And so that annual report is a way that you show your donors that you made good use and that you were good stewards of the funds that they gave. And so an annual report includes all the funds that were raised. You put that amount in there. You may want to list some donors, also some of your corporate partners that have given. And then also what I like to do in the annual reports is including a testimony of someone that has been affected by your programming. So for the Imaginary Arts Center, I will put the story of a student that has been impacted by the program and put their picture in your annual report. And then also after they give a gift with gift acknowledgement, you can do a phone call or a written letter from the CEO. So it depends on how you want to structure this. No stewardship plan is alike. And so you have to do this based on the needs of your organization. So this can be structured anyway. Okay, next slide, please. And so this is another smaller stewardship plan. So prospective donor, you want to make sure they get your e-newsletter. First-time donor, your e-newsletter, as well as a thank you email. And then if there's a recurring donor, if they're given monthly or weekly, making sure that they have everything, and definitely a major donor, which you decide what is a major donor in your organization, making sure that they receive all of this. So are there any questions?